Have you ever noticed that kids are masters of creativity? They can turn a cardboard box into a spaceship, a castle, or even a whole new world. But somewhere along the way, most of us lose that magic. Why? Today, we're going to explore how you can tap back into that childlike imagination, get unstuck, and unlock your creativity, no matter how blocked or uninspired you might feel. Let's start by busting a huge myth. Creativity isn't some mystical power reserved for artists, writers, or musicians. It's not some kind of gift you're either born with or without. Creativity is a skill, just like playing the piano or riding a bike. And just like any skill, you can practice it, get better at it, and, yes, even unlock it when it feels completely out of reach. Here's a quick story. When I was a kid, I used to love drawing superheroes. I'd make up whole worlds, complete with backstories and villains. All from just a stack of scrap paper and some markers. Fast forward to adulthood, and at some point, I stopped. I don't even know exactly when, but suddenly there was no time for silly superheroes. I had grown up things to do. Sound familiar? I think many of us go through this. We stop playing, and with that, we forget how to be creative. But it doesn't have to be that way. So today, I want to share with you a few powerful ways to break down those walls and let your creativity flow again. Whether you're stuck in a rut, dealing with writer's block, or just feeling like you've lost your spark, these strategies will help you shake things up and find that spark again. First up, let's talk about why we often feel blocked creatively. Many times, the real obstacle isn't a lack of ideas, but rather the fear that our ideas aren't good enough. It's this little voice that tells us, don't bother. No one will like it. Or it's not going to be perfect. So why even start? Perfectionism is creativity's worst enemy. And here's the kicker. Those masterpieces you admire, the ones that look like they were effortlessly created, most of them went through dozens of drafts, failures, and edits before becoming what you see. The messy, imperfect beginning is part of the process. So, step 1, embrace the mess. There's this great quote from Pixar's co-founder, Ed Catmull. Early on, all of our movies suck. He was talking about how every creative project, even the ones that eventually win awards, start off rough. If you're feeling blocked because nothing seems good enough, remind yourself that the first draft doesn't need to be perfect. It just needs to exist. Creativity begins when you let go of the fear of imperfection and allow yourself to create without judgment. Now, let's get into some actionable techniques to unlock your creativity. One of my favorite exercises to get unstuck is what I call the 20 Bad Ideas Challenge. The idea is simple. Sit down and force yourself to write down 20 bad ideas. They can be as absurd, silly, or impractical as you want. Maybe it's a vacuum cleaner that sings opera while cleaning, or a restaurant where you eat blindfolded, and they only serve jelly. The point here isn't to create a good idea. It's to remind your brain that it's okay to be silly, weird, or even wrong. What happens is that you end up breaking the pressure of needing the perfect idea, and often, somewhere in the middle of all those bad ideas, you find a gem. Or at the very least, you start laughing, and creativity suddenly doesn't feel so scary. Another key way to unlock your creativity is to change your environment. You see, the human brain loves novelty. It's why a change of scenery often leads to new ideas. So, if you've been sitting at the same desk for hours, staring at a blank page. Try this. Get up. Go for a walk. Sit in a cafe. Or even just rearrange the furniture in your room. There's a reason so many great ideas happen in the shower. It's because you're in a relaxed state, and your brain is experiencing something different from the usual grind. Speaking of the usual grind, let's address another creativity killer, routine. Now, routines are great for productivity. They keep us disciplined and help us build habits. But when it comes to creativity, monotony can be a killer. That's why it's so important to inject a little unpredictability into your life. Try new things, even small ones. Take a different route to work. Listen to a type of music you've never heard before, or learn a new skill just for fun. When you experience new things, you create new connections in your brain, and that's where creativity thrives. But let's get personal for a moment. A lot of times, the hardest part of creativity is sharing what you've created. The fear of being judged, of people not liking what you've made, can be paralyzing. I remember the first time I showed my writing to someone. It was terrifying. I felt exposed, like I was putting a piece of myself out there, vulnerable to criticism. But here's what I learned. People appreciate authenticity. Not everyone will love what you create, but the act of creating and sharing anyway is what truly matters. It's how you grow, improve, and, most importantly, connect. You see, creativity is about connection. Connecting ideas, connecting with people, and connecting with yourself. It's about expressing something only you can express. In a way, only you can do it. And the more you practice, the more those connections grow. So, here's a fun challenge. Find one small creative project to do today. It could be writing a short poem, taking some photos, doodling in a sketchbook, or even cooking a meal with a bit of flair. Do it without worrying about whether it's good or bad. Just do it. For the fun of creating. And then share it. Share it with a friend, post it online, or just show it to your cat. But share it. Because that's what creativity is for, to be shared and enjoyed. And remember this, every masterpiece started as a mess. The only difference between those who create and those who don't is that the creators showed up and started. They embraced the imperfect beginnings. They faced the fear of being judged, and they played with ideas until something clicked. So, don't worry about being perfect. Don't worry about having all the answers. Just start. And keep starting. Unlocking your creativity isn't about suddenly becoming a master. It's about showing up, doing the work, and allowing yourself to have fun along the way. If this inspired you to pick up that project you've been putting off, or if it gave you a new perspective on what creativity means, hit that like button, subscribe, and let's keep the creative conversation going. I'd love to hear what you're working on. Share it in the comments. Let's encourage each other to unlock our creativity and make this world just a little more imaginative. And if you're struggling, know this. The world needs your creativity. No matter how small, silly, or unfinished it feels, your voice matters. Let's make something amazing